Welcome to the Student Eligibility Training. Today we will be discussing student eligibility requirements, which include Title IV aid eligibility requirements, database matches, students convicted of possession or sale of drugs, satisfactory academic progress, conflicting information, verification and C codes. Basic eligibility for Title IV aid includes demonstrated financial need, be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, have a valid Social Security number, be registered with Selective Service if you're a male, be enrolled or accepted for enrollment as a regular student in an eligible degree or certificate program, be enrolled at least half-time to be eligible for direct loan program funds, maintain satisfactory academic progress. To be eligible for Title IV aid, student must sign the certification statement on the FAFSA stating that you are not in default on a federal student loan, you do not owe money on a federal student grant, you will use federal student aid only for educational purposes, show you are qualified to obtain a college or career school education by having a high school diploma or a recognized equivalent such as a GED, completing a high school education in a homeschool setting approved under state law, or enrolling in an eligible career pathway program and meeting one of the ability to benefit alternatives. Every FAFSA is submitted by CPS to the Social Security Administration to verify the applicant's U.S. citizenship or national status, name, date of birth, Social Security number, date of death. If the student's U.S. citizenship status cannot be confirmed by the SSA, the SAR and ICER will include a C code and a comment, and the student must provide documents proving U.S. citizenship, citizenship of the freely associated states, or eligible non-citizen status in order to be potentially Title IV aid eligible. Every FAFSA is submitted by CPS to the Social Security Administration to verify the applicants. If the student's Social Security number, name, or date of birth doesn't match SSA records, the U.S. citizenship status can't be confirmed, and a C code and comment will appear on the ICER. If the student misreported their information, they will need to submit a correction to their FAFSA with the correct information. Some acceptable documents the student can provide to prove their citizenship status are a certificate of naturalization, a certificate of citizenship, a copy of the student's birth certificate, a U.S. passport, a wallet-sized passport card, a copy of Form FS-240, FS-545, or DS-1350. These are State Department documents. The DHS assigns to all legal aliens an alien registration number, which FSA uses to identify which applications must be sent to DHS for immigration status verification. If the applicant indicates on the FAFSA that he is an eligible non-citizen and provides an ARN, identifying information is sent to the DHS for eligible non-citizen matching. If the match confirms the student's immigration status as an eligible one, he or she can receive aid if the other eligibility criteria are also met. Comment code 143 will appeal in the ICER if there is a successful match. If the applicant indicates on the FAFSA that he is an eligible non-citizen and provides an ARN, identifying information is sent to the DHS for eligible non-citizen matching. Record was not sent to DHS due to data entry errors. The match won't be attempted if the student left the citizenship question blank, the student said they were an eligible non-citizen but provided either no ARN or an invalid one, they changed their response to the citizenship question or changed his or her ARN after previous verification by DHS. Student's non-citizen status has not yet been confirmed. DHS will continue to check its records in a process called automated secondary confirmation. The ICER will have a comment code 144 and a DHS match flag of P indicating that the procedure is still in process. Males aged 18 to 25 are required to register with Selective Service. This requirement covers males residing in the United States who are U.S. citizens or non-citizens. Students who are required to register with Selective Service must do so to be eligible for FSA funds, but parents who want to borrow a PLUS loan aren't required to have registered. Generally, a male student who is 18 to 25 and who has not registered previously may register using the FAFSA. For the Selective Service, males exempted from the requirement to register include males currently in the armed services and on active duty, males who are not yet 18 at the time they complete their applications, males born before 1960, citizens of the Republic of Palau, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, or the Federated States of Micronesia, non-citizens who first entered the U.S. after they turned 26, non-citizens who entered the U.S. as lawful non-immigrants on a valid visa and remained in the U.S. under the terms of that visa until after they turned 26, transgender males who were assigned the sex of female at birth. You can review a student's financial aid history by using the National Student Loan Data System for financial aid professionals. Students who have previously attended other colleges may have a financial aid history that affects their eligibility for FSA funds at your school. NSLDS will also help you track changes to the student's financial aid history through the post-screening and transfer student monitoring processes. A person generally isn't eligible for Title IV funds if they are in default on an FSA loan or if they owe an overpayment on an FSA grant or loan and have not made a repayment arrangement for the default or overpayment. Also, for a parent to receive a PLUS loan, neither the parent nor the student may be in default or owe an overpayment on an FSA loan or grant. Any student applying for Title IV funds must certify that they aren't in default on any FSA loan and don't owe an overpayment on any FSA grant, or that they have made satisfactory arrangements to repay the overpayment or default. This certification statement is printed on the FAFSA. Parent Plus borrowers make the certification on the Plus MPN. A student is ineligible if he inadvertently exceeded annual or aggregate loan limits. A student who has been convicted of or has pled no contest or guilty to a crime involving fraud in obtaining Title IV funds must have completely repaid the fraudulently obtained funds to the department or the loan holder before regaining eligibility. A federal or state drug conviction can disqualify a student of Title IV funds. The student self-certifies in applying for aid that they are eligible. You're not required to confirm this unless you have conflicting information. The Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988 includes provisions that authorize federal and state judges to deny certain federal benefits, including student aid, to persons convicted of drug trafficking or possession. CPS maintains a hold of individuals who have received such a judgment. All applicants are checked against this file to determine if they should be denied aid. This is separate from the check for a drug conviction via Question 23. Records matching the drug abuse hold file receive a rejected application. Convictions only count against a student for aid eligibility purposes, FAFSA Question 23, if they were for an offense that occurred during a period of enrollment for which the student was receiving federal student aid. They do not count if the offense was not during such a period unless the student was denied federal benefits for drug trafficking by a federal or state judge. To be eligible for Title IV funds, a student must make satisfactory academic progress, and your school must have a reasonable policy for monitoring that progress. Each student will need to maintain the minimum requirements for their GPA, rate of completion, and maximum time frame. If your school has conflicting information for a student or you have any reason to believe his application is incorrect, you must resolve such discrepancies before dispersing Title IV funds. If you discover a discrepancy after dispersing Title IV funds, you must reconcile the conflicting information and require the student to repay any aid for which he wasn't eligible unless he is no longer enrolled for the award year and will not re-enroll. Your school is responsible for reconciling all inconsistencies that it receives, with one exception. If the student dies during the award year, you aren't required to resolve conflicting information. The best way to avoid generating conflicting information is to encourage those filing FAFSAs to use the IRS data retrieval tool. Schools are required to review all subsequent ICER transactions for a student for the entire processing year and resolve any conflicting information, even if they have verified an earlier transaction, unless the new ICER comes in after the student is no longer enrolled. Some of the areas in which a student may have conflicting information are discrepant tax data, marital and tax filing status. FAAs do not need to be tax experts, but they must have a fundamental understanding of relevant tax issues that can considerably affect the need analysis. FAAs are required to know whether a person was required to file a tax return and what the correct filing status for a person should be. The ICER comment codes 361 to 368 indicate a possible error when the filing status and marital status do not match. This is not considered to be conflicting information subject to the resolution requirements of CFR listed here, but we do encourage schools to review the application for mistakes when these comments appear. Note that the FAFSA's use of prior year tax data can increase the number of these comment codes. Schools must verify applications selected by CPS of students who will receive or have received subsidized student financial assistance. There are currently 3 different types of verification tracking groups, as listed on this slide. School policy requires undergrad students to complete verification even if they are just receiving unsub loans. Grad students are still required to complete V4 and V5 even if they are just receiving unsub loans. Students who are eligible for both sub and unsub Title IV aid may not avoid verification by accepting only unsub aid. They must complete verification to receive any Title IV aid. SARA and ICER include comment codes and text explaining any questionable results from the matches and edits. For some of these, there will be a C code which you must resolve before paying the student aid. For instance, if a student has defaulted on a federal student loan, the SAR and ICER will note this in several places, including comments to the student and the NSLDS Financial Aid History page. Thank you for attending. If you have any questions, please reach out to your leader for further assistance.